The massive station hung in space like a jewel against the stars. Its crystal walls stretched for miles in every direction, glowing with soft blue light. This was the heart of wisdom, home to the Galactic Council. For 3,000 years it had been the center of all power in the galaxy. Today, the Great Hall buzzed with nervous energy. 12 different alien species sat around the circular table, their forms as varied as the worlds they came from. Some floated in tanks of liquid, others stood on multiple legs or hovered using energy fields. But all of them shared the same worried expression. Speaker Zethkalar rose from his place at the head of the table. The ancient being looked like living crystal, his body reflecting the light in rainbow patterns. When he spoke, his voice echoed through every corner of the hall. "Council members," he began, his tone heavy with concern. "We face something that has never happened before in our long history. A species has refused to join our order." Murmurs filled the room. The ethereal collective, beings of pure energy, flickered with anxiety. The plant-like Verdani rustled their leaves in distress. Even the proud Korthak warriors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "These humans," Zethkalar continued, "appeared 50 years ago. They discovered faster than light travel and began spreading across the stars. We watched them as we always do with new species. We expected them to contact us when they were ready." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Instead, they ignored us completely. They built colonies in 17 star systems. 3 of those systems belonged to council members." Admiral Threx of the Korthak Empire slammed his fist on the table. The warrior's reptilian face showed his anger clearly. "This is unacceptable. No species has ever dared to ignore our authority." "There is more," Zethkalar said sadly. "We sent diplomatic ships to make contact. The humans destroyed them." The room erupted in shocked voices. For 3 millennia, no one had attacked council vessels. The very idea seemed impossible. "How?" asked Councillor Veltara, the council's greatest diplomat. Her graceful form swayed like water as she spoke. "Our ships carry the strongest shields in the galaxy. Our weapons can destroy planets." Admiral Threx activated a holographic display above the table. Images of destroyed council ships appeared, their hulls torn apart by massive holes. "They use kinetic weapons," he said with disgust. "Simple metal projectiles moving at incredible speeds. Our energy shields cannot stop them because they are just pieces of metal." "Primitive," scoffed Regent Zalmoth of the Tech Union. The machine-like being's optical sensors glowed red. "Any civilized species abandon such crude weapons when they discover energy manipulation. Primitive or not, they work," Admiral Threx replied grimly. "We lost 6 ships in the last patrol." 6. The humans used hidden weapons platforms disguised as asteroids. They coordinated their attack perfectly. Zethkalar raised his hand for silence. "There is something else you must know. Our intelligence division intercepted human communications. They are not afraid of us. In fact, they seem excited about the possibility of war." "Excited?" Veltara's voice rose in disbelief. "Do they not understand what we are capable of?" "Apparently not," the speaker replied. "Their military leaders speak of something they call asymmetric warfare. They study how to fight enemies who are stronger and more advanced than they are." The Verdani representative spoke in a voice like rustling leaves. "This is most disturbing. In our experience, young species either submit immediately or destroy themselves trying to resist. These humans do neither." Admiral Threx pulled up more data. "Intelligence reports indicate they have been preparing for galactic contact for decades. They built their entire military around the assumption that they would face superior technology. Their training focuses on unconventional tactics and guerrilla warfare." "Barbaric," muttered several council members. "Perhaps," Zethkalar admitted, "but effective. They have defeated every force we sent against them. Small forces, yes, but still equipped with our best technology." The ancient speaker looked around the table at his fellow council members. These beings represented the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They had brought peace through strength and wisdom. They had guided younger species into the light of civilization. And now, for the first time, they faced a species that wanted no part of their order. "What do we know about their home world?" asked Veltara. Admiral Threx changed the display to show a blue-green planet orbiting a yellow star. "Earth, 3rd planet in a system they call Sol. Population of approximately 8 billion. The planet shows signs of extensive warfare throughout their history. They fight among themselves?" The ethereal collective pulsed with interest. "Constantly," Threx confirmed. "Even now they maintain separate nations with different governments." They have fought wars using everything from stone tools to nuclear weapons. Their entire history is one of conflict and competition. No wonder they are not afraid, whispered the Verdani. They have been at war for their entire existence. Zethkalar nodded gravely. This explains much about their behavior. Most species develop peaceful cooperation before achieving space travel. Humans achieved spaceflight while still fighting each other. What are their capabilities? Asked Regent Zalmoth. Admiral Threx brought up technical specifications. Their ships are small compared to ours. Their largest vessels would barely qualify as frigates in our fleet. But they are fast and heavily armed for their size. They favor speed and maneuverability over heavy armor. And their weapons? Mostly kinetic, as I mentioned. But they have shown remarkable innovation. They use gravity wells to accelerate projectiles to extreme velocities. They hide weapons in asteroid fields and debris. They employ tactics we have never encountered. Because no civilized species would use such methods, added Zalmoth with disgust. Perhaps that is exactly why they are effective, Veltara said thoughtfully. We have grown comfortable with our superiority. We expect all species to fight as we do. Zethkalar looked around the table one final time. The question before us is simple. Do we tolerate this defiance, or do we enforce the order that has kept peace in the galaxy for 3,000 years? The vote was unanimous. Not a single member argued for tolerance. Very well, the speaker announced. Envoy Prime Veltara will deliver our final ultimatum to the human homeworld. They will have one chance to submit to council authority and accept integration into our civilization. And if they refuse? Asked Admiral Threx, though his eager expression showed he already hoped for that outcome. Then we will demonstrate why every other species in the galaxy chose to join us willingly, Zethkalar replied. Prepare the teaching fleet. If the humans will not accept wisdom, they will learn through experience. As the council session ended, the various species filed out of the Great Hall. Each returned to their quarters to prepare for what they believed would be a simple demonstration of power. They had done this before with stubborn species. A show of overwhelming force usually convinced even the most resistant civilizations to see reason, and of them suspected that they were about to encounter a species that had spent 10,000 years learning how to fight impossible odds. The humans had been preparing for this moment their entire history. The galaxy was about to change forever. The harmony of worlds dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system with barely a ripple. The magnificent vessel stretched over 1 kilometer in length, its crystal hull glowing with soft golden light. Ancient symbols covered its surface, each one representing a successful negotiation that had brought peace to the galaxy. Envoy Prime Veltara stood on the bridge, her water-like form shifting nervously despite her centuries of diplomatic experience. She had negotiated with warrior species, hive minds, and even digital consciousnesses, but something about these humans made her uneasy. Begin standard first contact protocols, she ordered her crew. The ship's communication array came online, broadcasting the traditional messages of peace in over 3,000 languages. The response came faster than expected. A harsh voice crackled through the speakers, speaking in what her translators identified as English. Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. State your business in our space. Veltara blinked in surprise. No species had ever demanded explanations from a council ship before. She activated the visual communication system, allowing her graceful form to appear on screen. Greetings, she began in her most diplomatic tone. I am Envoy Prime Veltara of the Galactic Council. I come in peace to deliver an important message to your species. The screen flickered, then showed a human female in military uniform. Admiral Chen looked to be middle-aged by human standards, with graying hair and sharp eyes. She was chewing something with her jaw, which Veltara found oddly disturbing. Yeah, we got your message, Chen said casually, as if talking to an old friend. Fancy light show, by the way. Very impressive. Veltara waited for the proper, respectful response. When none came, she continued. Admiral Chen, I represent the combined authority of 12 ancient civilizations. We have maintained peace and order in this galaxy for over 3,000 years. Good for you, Chen replied, still chewing. What's that got to do with us? The casual dismissal shocked Veltara. Your species has expanded into systems claimed by council members. You have ignored our diplomatic overtures and destroyed our patrol vessels. This cannot continue. Admiral Chen leaned back in her chair. Let me get this straight. You folks think you own parts of space, and you're mad because we didn't ask permission to live there? The sacred accords clearly establish our— Lady, we never signed your accords, Chen interrupted. We never even heard of you until you started shooting at our colonies. Veltara felt a growing sense of frustration. This was not proceeding according to any diplomatic protocol she knew. Admiral, please understand the gravity of this situation. The Galactic Council commands fleets numbering in the millions. Our technology is far beyond anything your species has developed. Our weapons can destroy entire star systems. Chen cracked what appeared to be a piece of gum between her teeth. And you're telling me this because resistance is futile, Veltara said, her composure finally cracking. Every species in the galaxy has recognized our authority. Those who initially resisted learned the folly of their defiance. Admiral Chen was quiet for a moment, studying Veltara with those sharp human eyes. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. The casual tone was gone, replaced by something much harder. Envoy, let me tell you something about humans. My species spent the last 10,000 years figuring out new and creative ways to kill each other. We got real good at it. We fought wars with sticks and stones. We fought wars with bullets and bombs. We fought wars with poison gas and nuclear fire. Chen leaned forward, her eyes never leaving Veltara's. You know what we learned in all that time? There's no such thing as impossible odds. There's just odds and whether you're willing to pay the price to beat them. Admiral, you must be reasonable, Veltara pleaded. Your largest ships are smaller than our fighters. Your weapons are primitive kinetic projectiles. How can you possibly hope to resist our combined might? Chen smiled, and Veltara realized it was not a pleasant expression. You want to know our secret? We never fought fair. When the enemy had better armor, we aimed for weak spots. When they had bigger guns, we hit them from behind. When they outnumbered us, we made them fight us one at a time. That is not how civilized warfare is conducted, Veltara protested. Exactly, Chen replied. You folks have been playing by rules for so long you forgot that your enemies don't have to follow them. The Admiral stood up from her chair and walked closer to the camera. Here's our counteroffer, Envoy. You turn that pretty ship around and head back where you came from. Tell your council that humans aren't interested in joining their club. We'll keep to our space, you keep to yours, and everybody stays happy. Veltara felt desperation creeping into her voice. Admiral, you do not understand. The council will not accept this defiance. If you refuse to negotiate, they will send a fleet to force your compliance. Let them come, Chen said simply. You would doom your entire species for pride? Admiral Chen's expression grew cold. Lady, my people didn't claw their way up from caves and survive ice ages and plagues and world wars just to bow down to some space bureaucrats who think age gives them the right to rule the galaxy. This is madness, Veltara whispered. Maybe, Chen admitted, but it's our madness. We earned it. The human admiral reached for something off-screen. When her hand came back, she was holding a steaming cup of some dark liquid. You know what this is? She asked, holding up the cup. Coffee? Humans discovered it about 1,000 years ago. We liked it so much we fought wars over it. Built entire economies around little brown beans. That's the thing about humans, Envoy. When we want something, we don't ask permission. We take it. She took a sip from the cup and smiled again. We wanted to explore the stars, so we built ships and went exploring. We wanted to live on other worlds, so we terraformed them and moved in. And if some ancient alien empire thinks they can stop us— She shrugged. Well, I guess we'll see about that. Veltara made one final attempt. Admiral, I beg you to reconsider. The Council has weapons that can crack planets in half. Ships that can move faster than light itself. Technology your species cannot even imagine. Probably, Chen agreed. But here's the thing about technology, Envoy. It's only as good as the people using it. And from what I've seen of your patrol ships, your people haven't had to fight for their lives in a real long time. Admiral Chen set down her coffee cup and looked directly into the camera. You want to give us an ultimatum? Fine, here's ours. Leave our colonies alone, stay out of our space, and maybe, just maybe, we can work something out in the future. But if you come at us with threats and demands— She paused. Well, humans have been dealing with bullies for a long time. We know how to handle them. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving Veltara staring at a blank screen. She stood there for several minutes, trying to process what had just happened. In her long career, she had never encountered anything like Admiral Chen. The human had shown no fear, no respect for council authority, and no understanding of the forces arrayed against her species. Worse, Veltara realized with growing horror the human had seemed almost eager for the coming conflict. She turned to her communications officer. "Send a priority message to the council. Tell them the humans have rejected our ultimatum." What was their response, Envoy? Veltara looked back at the blank screen where Admiral Chen's confident face had been. "They told us to bring our best shot." As the Harmony of Worlds turned and prepared to jump back to council space, none of its crew noticed the small objects detaching from nearby asteroids. The human spy satellites began their silent pursuit, gathering intelligence on council technology and transmitting data back to Earth. The war Admiral Chen had practically invited was about to begin, and humanity intended to be ready. Admiral Threx stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Dominion, watching the blue star of the New Texas system grow larger on the main screen. Behind him, 300 Council warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. The teaching fleet had arrived. "Begin scanning the system," he ordered. His reptilian features showed satisfaction as he studied the tactical displays. This would be simple. The human colony orbited the fourth planet, a dusty world they had somehow made suitable for their kind. Long-range sensors detected the usual signs of a young settlement: orbital platforms, mining stations, maybe 50,000 colonists. A few small ships moved between the facilities. "Pitiful," muttered Commander Velthak from his position at the weapons console. "Their largest vessel is barely the size of our shuttles." "Remember," Admiral Threx said to his crew, "this is a demonstration, not an extermination. We are here to teach them the folly of resistance. Once they see our power, they will surrender." He opened a communication channel to all ships in the fleet. "All vessels, assume intimidation formation. Power weapons to minimum settings. We want to frighten them, not destroy them completely." The Council fleet spread out across the system in a pattern designed to showcase their overwhelming superiority. Massive dreadnoughts took positions above and below the orbital plane. Cruisers formed a perfect sphere around the human colony. Fighters swarmed in complex patterns that demonstrated their speed and agility. It was a display that had convinced dozens of stubborn species to submit to Council authority. The sight of hundreds of advanced warships usually ended any thoughts of resistance. Admiral Threx activated the general communication system. "Attention human colonists. This is Admiral Threx of the Galactic Council. You are in violation of the Sacred Accords. Surrender immediately and prepare to be relocated to Council-approved territory." The response came from the orbital platform. A gravelly voice with a distinct accent replied, "This is Governor Jake Morrison of New Texas. I'm afraid we're going to have to decline your generous offer." Threx blinked in surprise. Even now, faced with overwhelming force, the humans refused to show proper respect. "Governor Morrison," he said patiently, "look around you. We have 300 warships in your system. Your small colony cannot possibly resist us." "That's what they said at the Alamo, too," Morrison replied cheerfully. "Didn't work out so well for them either." The Admiral had no idea what an Alamo was, but the human's tone was infuriating. "Governor, I will give you one final chance to surrender peacefully." "And I'll give you one chance to turn around and leave," Morrison shot back. "Fair warning, Admiral. You might want to check your asteroid belt real careful-like." Threx looked at his sensor officer in confusion. "What is he talking about?" The sensor operator ran a quick scan of the nearby asteroid field. "Sir, I'm detecting some unusual readings from the asteroids. Metal structures inside several of them." "Mining equipment," Commander Velthak suggested. "These humans use primitive extraction methods." "No, sir," the sensor officer said, his voice growing worried. "These signatures are consistent with weapon systems, large ones." Admiral Threx felt the first stirring of unease. "How large?" Before the sensor officer could answer, the asteroid belt opened fire. Chunks of rock that had seemed lifeless suddenly revealed massive railgun installations. Tungsten slugs, each one weighing several tons, burst from hidden launch tubes at incredible velocities. The projectiles moved so fast they appeared as streaks of light against the darkness of space. The Council fleet's energy shields activated automatically, designed to stop the plasma bolts and particle beams that civilized species used in warfare. The kinetic projectiles passed through them like they weren't even there. The first slug hit the cruiser Eternal Wisdom amidships. The dense metal projectile, moving at nearly 10% of light speed, punched completely through the vessel's hull and out the other side. The ship's reactor went critical and exploded in a brilliant flash. More projectiles followed. The humans had turned the entire asteroid belt into a weapon system, with railguns hidden inside dozens of rocky bodies. Worse, they had calculated the firing solutions perfectly. Every shot hit its target. Evasive maneuvers, Admiral Threx shouted, but his ships were caught in the open. The massive council vessels had been designed for battles against other civilized fleets, where engagement ranges were measured in thousands of kilometers and fights lasted for hours. This was something else entirely. The human weapons fired from concealed positions at point-blank range in astronomical terms. There was no time to react, no room to maneuver. The dreadnought Cosmic Justice took 3 hits in rapid succession. Each projectile tore through its heavy armor like paper. The ship broke apart in sections, its crew compartments venting atmosphere as it died. "How are they doing this?" Commander Velthak demanded. "The power requirements for kinetic weapons at these velocities should be impossible." Admiral Threx studied the tactical display with growing horror. The humans weren't using massive power plants like civilized species would. Instead, they had built hundreds of smaller railguns throughout the asteroid belt, each one using gravitational assists and magnetic acceleration in sequence. It was crude, inefficient, and absolutely devastating. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "I'm detecting small craft launching from the human colony. They appear to be heading for our damaged vessels." "Scavengers," Velthak spat. "They want to loot our technology." But the sensor readings told a different story. The small human ships weren't heading for disabled council vessels. They were moving toward undamaged ships approaching from angles that made them difficult to target. "What are they carrying?" Threx demanded. "Unknown, sir. The ships are too small for significant weapon systems." The Admiral was about to dismiss the human craft when the first one reached the battleship Harmony's edge. The small vessel, no bigger than a council shuttle, flew directly into the battleship's engine section. The explosion was enormous. Whatever the human ship had been carrying, it packed enough punch to crack the battleship's hull and send it tumbling out of control. "Suicide attackers," Threx whispered. "They're using manned missiles." More human ships slammed into council vessels. Each one carried what appeared to be a single pilot and enough explosives to cripple ships 100 times their size. The pilots didn't try to escape. They flew their craft directly into their targets and detonated their payloads. "This is madness," Velthak shouted. "What kind of species throws away lives like this?" Admiral Threx remembered the intelligence reports about human history. These were the descendants of warriors who had fought hopeless battles for causes they believed in. They had always been willing to die for their principles. "All ships begin withdrawal," he ordered. "Emergency jump preparations." But the humans weren't finished. As the Council fleet tried to organize a retreat, new contacts appeared on the sensors. Ships that had been disguised as debris or hidden in the outer system suddenly came online. These weren't suicide craft. They were proper warships, built for speed and armed with those terrible kinetic weapons. They had been waiting for the Council fleet to bunch up during the retreat. The human ships moved like nothing Threx had ever seen. They used the gravity of planets and asteroids to slingshot themselves into attack positions. They fired their weapons from impossible angles, using curved trajectories that took advantage of gravitational fields. It was three-dimensional warfare conducted by beings who had learned to fight in the complex environment of space. The Council, for all their advanced technology, had been fighting the same way for centuries. They formed orderly battle lines and exchanged fire at respectable distances. The humans fought like pirates and barbarians. They attacked from every direction at once. They used weapons that shouldn't work and tactics that made no sense, and they were winning. "Sir, we've lost 47 ships," the tactical officer reported. "The humans are pursuing our retreat vector." Admiral Threx looked at the tactical display one last time. His teaching fleet was being torn apart by primitives who fought with scrap metal and determination. The most advanced military force in the galaxy was being defeated by creatures who had barely learned to travel between stars. "All ships, emergency jump," he ordered. "Get us out of here." The surviving Council vessels fled the New Texas system in complete disorder. Behind them, the human colony continued broadcasting on all frequencies. Governor Morrison's voice followed them into hyperspace. "Y'all come back now, you hear? Next time, bring more ships." This was barely a warm-up. As the Council fleet limped back to their territory, Admiral Threx began composing his report. How could he explain that the most powerful military force in the galaxy had been humiliated by a species that fought with flying rocks and suicide bombers? The humans had done more than reject Council authority. They had proven that all of the galaxy's assumptions about civilized warfare were wrong, and if the Council wanted to stop them, they would need to learn how to fight like barbarians themselves. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike any in their 3,000-year history. Representatives from all 12 member species gathered in the Great Hall, their usual calm dignity replaced by barely controlled panic. Speaker Zeth Kalar's crystal form had lost its usual rainbow glow. He stood at the head of the table, looking older than his 4 millennia of existence. "Admiral Threx, present your report." The Korthak warrior's reptilian features showed the strain of defeat. His pride built over centuries of victory lay in ruins. The teaching fleet engaged the human colony at New Texas 6 days ago. "We lost 63 ships. The humans lost none." Shocked murmurs filled the hall. The ethereal collective flickered with disbelief. The Verdani rustled their leaves in distress. "How is this possible?" demanded Regent Zalmoth. The machine being's optical sensors glowed angry red. "Your force had overwhelming technological superiority." Admiral Threx activated the holographic display, showing the battle from multiple angles. They turned the entire asteroid belt into a weapons platform. Hidden railguns fired kinetic projectiles at relativistic speeds. "Our shields were useless." "But the power requirements," Zalmoth began. "They don't use single massive power sources like we do," Threx interrupted. "They built hundreds of smaller installations using gravity assists and magnetic acceleration in sequence. It's crude but effective." Counselor Melvari of the Academic Union studied the tactical data. "This suggests a completely different approach to engineering. They build redundant systems instead of perfecting single solutions." "Worse," Admiral Threx continued grimly, "they use suicide attackers. Pilots who flew their ships directly into our vessels knowing they would die." The hall fell silent. In 3,000 years of civilized warfare, no species had ever used such tactics. "Barbaric," whispered the Verdani representative. "Effective," corrected Admiral Threx. "Each suicide craft disabled ships worth millions of credits. From a tactical standpoint, it was brilliant." Speaker Zeth Kalar looked around the table. "What is our intelligence assessment of human capabilities?" The head of Council Intelligence, a shadowy being known only as Agent Prime, materialized at the table. "The situation is worse than the Admiral's report suggests. Human expansion has not slowed. They are building new colonies faster than before." "That's impossible," protested Veltara. "They just fought a major battle. Their resources should be depleted." "Human colonies are largely self-sufficient within months of establishment," Agent Prime explained. "They use rapid terraforming techniques and automated construction. Each colony becomes a production center for more ships and weapons." The intelligence chief activated new displays showing human space. "They are also recruiting allies. 3 minor species have switched sides: the Zephyrians, the Crystalline Consortium, and the Traitor Guilds." "Traitors," snarled Admiral Threx. "Pragmatists," Agent Prime corrected. "They see humans as the rising power. The traitors especially are impressed by human willingness to share technology." "Share technology?" Zeth Kalar's surprise was evident. "No species shares military technology with inferiors. Humans do not consider other species inferior," Agent Prime revealed. "They offer defensive partnerships. Any species that allies with them receives human weapons and training." The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. For 3 millennia, they had maintained control through technological superiority. If humans spread their weapons to other species, "We must act immediately," declared Admiral Threx. "Full mobilization. Crush them before their infection spreads further." "With what?" asked the ethereal collective sadly. "You lost 60 ships to 1 minor colony. Humans have 17 systems, each one likely defended as heavily as New Texas." Regent Zalmoth ran calculations through his mechanical brain. "A conventional assault would require our entire fleet. Even then, success is not guaranteed." "There is another problem," Agent Prime continued. Human intelligence gathering has improved dramatically. They have inserted spy satellites throughout Council space. We can no longer move fleets without their knowledge. Impossible, Threx protested. Our sensors would detect any foreign technology. Human satellites use passive systems only. They look like space debris or natural objects. By the time we detect them, they have already transmitted their intelligence. Speaker Zethkalar felt the weight of leadership pressing down on him. Every option seemed to lead to disaster. What do our military analysts recommend? Retreat, Admiral Threx said bitterly. Consolidate our forces around core worlds and hope humans are satisfied with their current territory. Unacceptable, several council members said at once. Then what do you suggest? Threx demanded. These humans fight unlike anyone we have ever faced. They use our strengths against us. They turn our technology into weaknesses. The debate continued for hours. Some members argued for immediate attack. Others wanted to try negotiation again. A few suggested retreating to their home systems and abandoning the outer territories. Then Agent Prime spoke again. There is one more thing. We intercepted communications from human military command. They are aware of something we are not. Explain, Zethkalar ordered. Long-range sensors in human space have detected artificial signals from outside the galaxy, ships approaching from intergalactic space. The hall fell silent. Extragalactic contact had been theoretical for centuries. Most council members believed they were alone in the universe. The humans estimate arrival in 18 months, Agent Prime continued. Fleet strength unknown, but the signals suggest thousands of vessels. Are you saying there is another galactic civilization approaching? Asked Veltara, unknown. But humans are already preparing defenses. They view it as a threat to be met with force. The implications slowly sank in. If hostile extragalactic forces were coming, the Council would need every available ship to defend their territory. They could not afford to lose more vessels fighting humans. Perhaps, suggested Councillor Melvari carefully, we should reconsider our approach to these humans. You would have us negotiate from weakness? Admiral Threx was outraged. I would have us survive, Melvari replied calmly. If these extragalactic forces are hostile, we will need allies. Humans have proven they know how to fight. Speaker Zethkalar considered the situation. For 3,000 years, the Council had maintained peace through strength. They had been the supreme power in the galaxy, protecting younger species from harm. Now they faced enemies who fought by different rules and another threat from beyond the stars. The old ways might not be enough anymore. Agent Prime, he said finally, what is your assessment of human intentions? They appear defensive in nature. They want to be left alone to develop their civilization. However, they will fight anyone who threatens them. Would they fight alongside us against an extragalactic threat? Unknown. But their military doctrine suggests they would view such a threat as unacceptable. Zethkalar looked around the table at his fellow council members. These beings had ruled the galaxy for millennia. They had brought peace and order to countless worlds. But perhaps it was time to consider sharing that responsibility. I propose we send another envoy to the humans, he said carefully, not to demand their submission but to discuss mutual concerns about the approaching threat. This is surrender, Admiral Threx protested. This is adaptation, Zethkalar replied. We have learned that humans cannot be conquered easily. Perhaps it is time to learn if they can be reasoned with. The vote was close, but it passed. For the first time in Council history, they would approach another species as equals rather than superiors. As the session ended, each member began preparing for a new kind of diplomacy. They were about to discover whether humans were as good at making peace as they were at making war. The galaxy was changing, and the Council would have to change with it or risk being left behind. The Nexus had been the crown jewel of galactic civilization for over 1,000 years. The massive space station orbited a neutron star at the galaxy's center, its gleaming spires reaching out like arms to embrace the cosmos. Here, representatives from hundreds of species came to trade, learn, and conduct business under the protection of Council law. Today, the Nexus felt different. Crowds gathered around news displays, watching reports from the Outer Rim with growing anxiety. The Council's defeat at New Texas had sent shockwaves through civilized space. If humans could destroy Council fleets, what did that mean for everyone else? Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of her flagship, the Defiant, watching the Nexus grow larger on the main screen. Her small fleet had jumped directly to the galaxy's heart, ignoring the Council's territorial boundaries completely. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're being hailed by Nexus Control. They're demanding we identify ourselves and state our intentions." "Tell them Admiral Chen is here for the appointment," she replied calmly. The message she had sent to the Council 3 days ago had been simple. Time to talk. No threats, no demands, just an invitation to negotiate. The Council's response had been to mobilize their remaining fleets around their core worlds and invite her to the Nexus. "They're granting us docking permission," the communications officer announced. "Bay 94, Chen nodded. "Take us in. And remember, people, we're guests here. Best behavior." The human fleet consisted of just 12 ships, but each one drew stares from the alien vessels in the docking area. Human warships looked nothing like the elegant curves and crystalline beauty of Council vessels. They were angular, functional, and covered with weapon mounts and armor plating. As Chen walked through the station's corridors toward the meeting hall, she noticed how other species reacted to her presence. Some stepped aside respectfully. Others watched with curiosity. A few showed obvious fear. The Great Hall of the Nexus had been built to impress visitors with the grandeur of galactic civilization. Holographic displays showed the peaceful worlds of Council space. Artwork from dozens of cultures decorated the walls. The ceiling stretched up into darkness, giving the impression of infinite space. Speaker Zethkalar waited at the center of the hall, flanked by the other Council members. His crystal form reflected the light in nervous patterns as Chen approached. "Admiral Chen," he said formally, "welcome to the Nexus." "Speaker," she replied with a slight nod. "Thanks for agreeing to meet." The informal greeting clearly caught the Council off guard. They had expected either groveling submission or angry demands. Chen's casual confidence was something new. "Please, be seated." Zethkalar gestured to a chair that had been placed facing the Council table. Chen looked at the arrangement and smiled. "You know what, Speaker? I think I'll stand. This won't take long." "Very well." "Admiral, you requested this meeting. What are your terms for surrender?" Chen laughed, a sound that echoed strangely in the vast hall. "Surrender? Who said anything about surrendering? You have attacked Council forces." Admiral Threx snarled from his position at the table. "You will submit to our authority and accept punishment for your crimes." "Admiral Threx," Chen said pleasantly, "I remember you. You're the one who brought 300 ships to intimidate 50,000 colonists. How did that work out for you?" Threx's reptilian features flushed with anger, but before he could respond, Zethkalar raised a hand for silence. "Admiral Chen, what do you want?" "That's better," Chen said. "What I want is simple. I want to save all of our lives." She activated a portable holographic projector and placed it on the floor. The device showed a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy, with markers indicating the approaching extragalactic fleet. "Your intelligence services have detected them too," Chen continued. "Thousands of ships from outside our galaxy heading this way. They'll arrive in about 16 months. We are aware of the situation," Zethkalar admitted, "but the Council has defended the galaxy for 3 millennia. We will handle this threat as we have handled all others." "With all due respect, Speaker, you couldn't handle a single human colony. What makes you think you can handle this?" The blunt statement hit the Council like a physical blow. Several members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Your point?" asked Veltara coldly. Chen manipulated the hologram, showing tactical projections. "My point is that we're all going to die unless we work together. These aren't refugees looking for a new home. Our long-range analysis shows military formations and weapon signatures we've never seen before. And you believe humans can succeed where the Council cannot?" Regent Zalmoth's optical sensors glowed with skepticism. "I believe humans know how to fight impossible odds," Chen replied. "It's what we do best. But we can't do it alone, and neither can you." She changed the holographic display to show human space and Council territory combined. "Together, we have the industrial capacity and military knowledge to mount a proper defense. Separately, we'll be picked off one system at a time." "You speak of alliance," Zethkalar said slowly, "but you are criminals who have attacked our vessels and rejected our authority." "Your vessels attacked our colonies first," Chen pointed out. "And as for your authority," she shrugged, "we never asked you to rule us. We never signed your accords. From our perspective, you're just another bunch of aliens trying to tell us what to do." The casual dismissal of 3,000 years of galactic order left the council speechless. However, Chen continued, we're willing to let bygones be bygones if you are. The universe is about to get a lot more dangerous. We need to be on the same side. What exactly are you proposing? Asked Counselor Melvari. Chen smiled and activated a new display. A new kind of galactic government. Not a council of ancient races ruling younger species, but a federation where every species gets a voice based on population and contribution. Impossible, several council members said at once. Why? Because you've always been in charge? Chen's tone remained pleasant, but her eyes had hardened. Speaker, your way of doing things gave us 6,000 years of peace in a galaxy where every species followed the same rules and fought the same way. That's impressive, she paused, letting her words sink in. But it also gave you a military that couldn't adapt when faced with something new. These extragalactic forces won't follow your rules either. What would humans bring to such an alliance? Feltara asked. Innovation, Chen replied immediately. We think differently than you do. We solve problems by breaking them instead of following established procedures. And we're very, very good at violence. Admiral Threx leaned forward. Your weapons are primitive. Our weapons are effective, Chen corrected. There's a difference. A kinetic projectile moving at 20% of light speed doesn't care how advanced your shields are. It just punches through them. She manipulated the hologram again, showing technical specifications. We're willing to share our military technology with all Federation members. Defensive systems, weapon designs, tactical doctrine, everything. In exchange for what? Zethkalar asked. Manufacturing capacity. You have industrial systems we could never build in time. Shipyards that can produce vessels faster than anything in human space. Give us 18 months with your resources, and we can build a fleet that might actually survive what's coming. The council members looked at each other uncertainly. Everything Chen proposed went against thousands of years of tradition. There is another issue. Agent Prime materialized beside the table. How do we know humans won't use our technology against us once the external threat is defeated? Chen looked directly at the shadowy intelligence operative. Because if we wanted to conquer you, we would have done it already. Admiral Threx's fleet wasn't the only council force we've encountered. We've been watching your military movements for months. She activated a final holographic display showing council fleet positions throughout their territory. We know where your ships are. We know their capabilities. We know their weaknesses. If we wanted a war, you'd already be losing it. The accuracy of human intelligence gathering shocked the council into silence. But we don't want a war, Chen continued. We want to live in peace and explore the galaxy. The only thing that would make us fight you is if you force us to. Speaker Zethkalar studied the human admiral for a long moment. She was everything the council was not. Young, aggressive, and utterly confident in her species' abilities. She also might be their only hope of survival. If we agree to this federation, he said carefully, what guarantee do we have that humans will honor their commitments? Chen smiled again, but this time it was warm and genuine. Speaker, my species has a saying, actions speak louder than words. We're not asking you to trust us based on promises. We're asking you to judge us by what we do. She gestured toward the viewport showing human ships docked peacefully alongside council vessels. We came here with 12 ships when we could have brought 1,200. We're offering to share our military secrets when we could keep them hidden. We're proposing an alliance when we could just let you face the invaders alone. And if we refuse, then we defend human space and let you defend yours. When the extragalactic forces arrive, they'll find a divided galaxy that's easy to conquer. Chen's expression grew serious. But I really hope you don't choose that path.